Hi, I am Dr. Abhishek Joshi, and in this video lecture I am going to discuss about the optical sources, that is the LED. LED stands for the light emitting diode. Now let's start with the introduction. So in LED we have the spontaneous emission. So let's understand what is absorption, spontaneous emission and the stimulated emission, because spontaneous emission is happening in LED. That is, so in this figure we can see there are three states. One is the initial state, that is having the higher energy, and another one is the lower energy state, that is E1. So when we are providing energy, so what happens, the atom from the lower energy states switches to the higher energy states, and after some time, what is the final state? We are having the atom in the higher energy state. Now in case of the spontaneous emission, the atom from higher energy states comes back to its lower energy while releasing some energy in form of light. So that is the case of spontaneous emission, and LED is following this spontaneous emission. The third case is the stimulated emission. In this, when the atom in the higher energy states is switching back to the lower energy state and while applying some external energy. Now due to some external energy, it is having the energy which is released again in a coherence with the previous one, and the atom comes back to its lower energy states. Now we are getting the coherent light. So this figure shows the energy state diagram, that is the first part the phenomena of absorption, the second part the spontaneous emission, and the third part is showing the stimulated emission. So the spontaneous emission which we have seen in the figure of the radiation in the visible and the infrared region of the spectrum from a forward biased PN junction. So the normally empty conduction band of the semiconductor is populated by the electrons ejected into it for the forward current through the junction, and the light is generated when these electrons recombine with the holes in the valence band to emit a photon. So this phenomena by which the light is emitted from an LED, but stimulated emission is not encouraged, as it is in the injection laser by the addition of the optical cavity and the mirror facet to provide feedback or photons. Now the LED can therefore operate at a lower current densities than the injection laser. So this is the comparison. Also, the energy emitted photons is only roughly equal to the band gap energy of the semiconductor material, so which gives the wider spectral line width, and the line width of an LED corresponds to the range of the photon energy, that is ranging from 1 and 3.5 kilo. So where K is the Boltzmann's constant and T is the temperature, that is the absolute temperature. Now LED has several drawbacks in comparison with the injection laser. So what are those drawbacks? First one, generally lower optical power coupled into the fiber, that is in microwatts. Second disadvantage is usually lower modulation bandwidth. So modulation bandwidth is less as compared to the injection laser. Third one is the harmonic distortion. So these are the three major drawbacks of using LED over the laser. Now there are several advantages as well. So first one is the simpler fabrication. So there are no mirror facets in some structures, no stripped geometry. Another one is the cost. The simpler construction of the LED leads to the much reduced cost, which is always likely to be maintained. Third is the reliability. So the LED does not exhibit the catastrophic degradation and have proved far less sensitive to the gradual degradation than the injection laser. So it is also immune to the self pulsation and the modal noise problems. The fourth advantage is So generally less temperature dependence and the light output against the current characteristics is less affected by the temperature than corresponding characteristics for the injection laser. So when we are comparing with the laser, so the LED is not a threshold device and is raising the temperature does not increase the threshold current, and operating point allows the halt operation. The fifth advantage is simpler drive circuitry. So the drive circuitry which we need is very simple. So this is due to the general lower drive current and reduced temperature dependence, which makes the temperature compensation circuits unnecessary. The sixth one is the linearity. So ideally the LED has a linear light output against the current characteristics, unlike the injection laser. This proves the advantages over the analog modulation concerned. Now there are different materials which are used to fabricate the LED. So some structures which are fabricated using the gallium arsenide, and some structure using the indium arsenide. So what are these materials and which materials are used to fabricate the LED as shown in the table. The first column shows the semiconductor material, the second column shows the energy band, and the third column shows the recombination coefficient. So by analyzing these parameters, we choose the material for the fabrication of LED. So first material is the gallium arsenide, which is having the direct energy band gap of 1.43 electron volt, and the recombination coefficient is 7.21. Similarly for candium, we are having 0.73, 2.34, indium arsenide 0.35, 8.5 newtons per minus 11, silicon, germanium, and gallium phosphorus. So let's understand what is the energy momentum diagram that for the different types of the transition, that is the energy band gap semiconductor and indirect band gap semiconductor. So first figure shows the direct band gap semiconductor and second figure shows the indirect band gap semiconductor. So in first figure, as we can see, we have the conduction band which is at the higher energy state, and the valence band it is having the lower energy state. So we have the electron in the conduction band and holes in the valence band. So in the direct band gap, when the electron and hole recombine, it releases the photon, means the electron from higher energy states come back to the lower energy state, means it's forming the covalent bond and it releases the photon. So this is called as the direct energy band gap. So in the second figure, as we can see, we have the momentum or the wave vector. On the x-axis, y-axis is the electron energy. So electron from the higher energy states is not coming directly to the valence band by forming the covalent bond, but it reaches to the first state and then it is coming back to the lower energy state, that is the valence band, to form the covalent bond. So this is known as the indirect band gap, because directly the electron is not switching from the higher energy state to the lower energy state. Now let's discuss about the LED power and the efficiency. We are talking about the quantum efficiency. The absence of the optical amplification through stimulated emission in the LED, as we have discussed in the previous slide. To emit the internal quantum efficiency, that is a ratio of the photon generated to injected electrons of the drive or the device. So we have the reliance or the spontaneous emission allow the non-radiative recombination to take place within the structure due to the crystalline imperfection and impurities, giving at best in the internal quantum efficiency of 50% for simple homojunction devices. However, as with the injection laser, we have the double heterojunction, that is DH structure, have been implemented with recombination lifetime measurement suggests that is it's having the quantum efficiency of 60 to 80%. So the power generated internally by the LED may be determined by the consideration of the excess electrons and the holes in the P and the N material respectively. that is a minority carrier. So when it is forward bias, when we have the forward bias and the carrier injection takes place at the device contact, the excess density of the electron, that is denoted by del n, and the holes, that is denoted by delta p, is equal, since the injected carriers are created and the recombined in pairs such that the charge neutrality is maintained within the structure. So in intrinsic materials, one carrier type will have the much higher concentration than the other, and hence in the p-type region, for example, the hole concentration is higher, as well as in the n-type material the electron concentration is higher. Generally, the excess minority carrier density decays exponentially with time in accordance to the relation. If we are talking about the n-type, del n is given by del n0, that is the initial state, exponentially minus t by tau, where t is the time. So when there is a constant current flow into the junction diode and equilibrium condition is established, the total rate at which the carriers are generated will be the sum of the externally supplied and the thermal generation rates. So the current density J in amperes per square meter may be written by J by ED in the electron per cubic meters per second. So where E is the charge on the electron and D is the thickness of the recombination region. So rate equation for the recombination, that is a carrier recombination in the LED, can be expressed as, that is the change of the rate of the electron density, that is del n by del t, that is equals to the J current density divided by the charge of the electron E and the distance, that is d, and minus del n by tau is written, the unit is per cubic meter per second. So the condition of equilibrium is obtained by setting up the derivative in equation to 0. So when we are substituting it to 0, we are getting it as, that is del n, that is equals to J tau by ED per cubic meter. The equation therefore gives the steady state electron density when the current, that is a constant current, is flowing into the junction region. So it is also apparent from the equation in the steady state that the total number of carrier recombination per second, or the recombination rate, that is RT, that is given by J, that is the current density, divided by electron charge, that is E, multiplied by the distance d, that is in per cubic meter. Or we can write the recombination time, that is the addition of the radiation recombination. So the condition for equilibrium is obtained by setting the derivative, that is equation, equals to 0, as we have seen in the previous slide. So where del n, that is equals to J tau by ED, where E is the charge of electron and D is the distance. The equation therefore gives the steady state electron density when the constant current is flowing into the junction region. So it is also apparent from the equation that the steady state total number of carriers recombination per second, or the recombination rate, that is RT, will be equals to, that is J by ED per cubic meter. So we can write that is the total recombination time is nothing but the radiation recombination RR and the non-radiative recombination, that is RNR per cubic meter, where R, that is RT, and RR is the radiative recombination rate per unit volume, and RNR is a non-radiative recombination rate per unit volume. So moreover, when the forward bias current into the device I, where we have the total recombination time, can be calculated as, that is the current divided by the charge on electron. So the LED internal quantum efficiency, that is NINT, which can be defined as a ratio of the radiative recombination rate to the total recombination, that can be written as, that is the internal quantum efficiency, that is equals to the radiative recombination divided by the total recombination time, and the total recombination time is nothing but RR plus RNR. So we can write the efficiency given by the radiative recombination rate divided by the total recombination rate, where RR is the total number of radiative recombination per second. So rearranging and substituting, what we get is the radiative recombination that is equals to the efficiency, that is the internal efficiency eta, and multiply with the current divided by the charge on electron E. Since the RR is equivalent to the total number of photons generated per second from the equation, so each photon has the energy that is equals to h time of f, where h is the Planck's constant and f is the frequency that is given in joules, and the total power generated internally by the LED that is given by, that is the efficiency, internal efficiency multiplied by the current divided by the charge or electron multiplied by the photon energy, that is h into f. This power is given in watts. So using this equation to express the internally generated power in terms of the wavelength rather than the frequency, that gives, that is a power internal that is equals to the efficiency, internal efficiency SCI divided by the electron, charge on electron multiplied with the wavelength. So we are getting the power in watts. So for the exponential decay of axis carriers depicted by the equation, the radiative minority carrier's lifetime that is given by tau r, that is given by del n by rr, that is a radiative recombination, and the non-radiative minority carrier lifetime that is given by tau n r, that is nothing but del n by r and r. So therefore we can write the internal efficiency that is given by eta internal, that is equals to 1 by 1 plus r n r by RT, where RT is the total recombination time, that can be written in further as 1 by 1 plus tau r by tau n r. So we can write, or rearranging the terms, we can write tau as del n by RT, that is equals to 1 by tau, that is equals to 1 by tau r plus 1 by tau n r. So the external quantum efficiency may be defined as the ratio of the photon emitted from the device to the photon internally generated. So here we can write the internal quantum efficiency that is given by tau r. So it can be noted that the same expression for the internal quantum efficiency could be obtained. So let's solve a numerical based on this formula which we have derived, that is the radiative and non-radiative recombination lifetime of the magnetic carrier in the active region of the double heterojunction LED are 60 nanoseconds and 100 nanoseconds respectively. Determine the total carrier recombination lifetime and the power internally generated within the device when the peak emission wavelength is 0.87 micrometer and the drive current is given by 40 milliamperes. So using the expression which we have derived, that is given by tau, that is 1 by tau is equals to 1 by tau r plus 1 by tau n r. So using the formula, we get the tau, that is 60 into 100 by 60 plus 100, that is 37.5 nanoseconds. That internal quantum efficiency can be found as that is equals to tau by tau r. So 37.5 divided by 60, so we are getting as 0.625. So power internally generated is given by the efficiency, that is eta multiplied by SCI divided by E lambda. So substituting the values in the formula, we are getting 36.5 milliwatts. So if we are having the Lambert-Eaton intensity distribution, the typical, that is a planar LED, we are having the intensity distribution that is given by I naught cos of theta. So if we have the planar surface and theta is varying from the plane of the surface. So when it is radiated at a greater than the critical angle for the crystal air interface, when it have the injection laser and the external power efficiency, it is given by eta EP. So we can find the eta EP, that is the external power efficiency. Eta EP is given by the power emitted externally, PE divided by the device power, that is P multiplied by 100. So we are getting, this is in percentage. So the optical power emitted, that is PE, into the medium of low refractive index N from the face of the LED fabricated from the material of the refractive index NX is given by approximately, that is PE, that is equals to the internal efficiency multiplied by F into N square divided by 4NX square. So where the power internally generated is P int and F is the transmission factor of the semiconductor external interface. So hence it is possible to estimate the percentage of optical power emitted. So we have a planar LED fabricated, so numerical based on the previous formula which we have discussed. So it's fabricated from a gallium arsenide, that is GaAs, which has a refractive index. So N is also given, that is 3.6. So we have to calculate the optical power emitted into the air as a percentage of internal optical power for the device when the transmission factor at the crystal air interface, that is 0.68. And the second part we have to solve when the optical power generated internally is 50% of the electric power supplied. Determine the external power efficiency. So these two parts we have to solve. Solving the first part, we have the formula, that is the external power is given by the internal power multiplied by the transmission factor N square, that is the refractive index, divided by 4 times Nx square. So substituting the value, we are getting, that is 0.013 the internal power. So the external power efficiency can be calculated using the formula, that is the power emitted divided by the total power of the device multiplied by 100. So we are getting 0.013 P into by P into 100. So external power efficiency is nothing but we are getting it as, that is 0.65, because we know that the internal power is equals to 0.5 times of P. So further, the loss is encountered in this Lambatian pattern. So when coupling the light output into the fiber, so considering the coupling efficiency are very complex, so it is possible to use an approximate simplified approach. So it is assumed for a step index fiber that all the light incident on the exposed end of the core within the acceptance angle theta is coupled for the fiber in air. So we can write the acceptance angle, that is sine inverse of n1 square minus n2 square under root, and sine inverse, that is nothing but the numerical aperture, that is n1 square minus n2 square, as we have discussed in our previous lectures. So also the incident light at angles greater than the acceptance angle theta a will not be coupled. So for the Lambatian source, the radiation intensity as angle, that is theta and I theta, is given by, so the intensity can be written as in terms of I theta, that is I naught cos of theta, when I naught is the radiation intensity along the line, that is theta equals to 0, considering a source which is smaller than the close proximity to the fiber core. Using the cylindrical symmetry, the coupling efficiency eta c can be written as, that is from the acceptance angle 0 to theta a I theta sine of theta d theta, another one from 0 to 2 pi I naught sine of theta d theta. So eta c can be further simplified by substituting the I theta, that is I naught cos of theta, in the formula. So further simplifying and integrating with respect to the d theta, so the integration of sine 2 theta will be cos 2 theta by pi, cos 2 theta by pi. Here we have the limits, that is from 0 to theta a. Now in the denominator we have the limit from 0 to pi by 2. So we are getting the efficiency, that is sine square theta a. So the efficiency can be written as sine square theta is nothing but the numerical aperture whole square. So that is the equation for the coupling efficiency, which allows then estimate the percentage of optical power coupled into the stepped index fiber relative to the amount of the optical power emitted from the LED. So let's discuss one numerical based on this. So light output from the gallium arsenide LED, that is we have discussed in the example, is coupled into the stepped index fiber with a numerical aperture that is given by 0.2, and the core refractive index is 1.4, and the diameter that is larger than the device. So we have 3 parts we have to solve, that is the coupling efficiency into the fiber when the LED is in close proximity to the fiber, the optical loss in decibels relative to the power coupled from the LED when the coupling the light output into the fiber, and the third part is the loss relative to the internally generated optical power in the device when the coupling the light output into the fiber when there is a small gap between the LED and the fiber core. So solution, so the coupling efficiency is given by eta c, that is equals to the numerical aperture whole square. So we have the numerical aperture that is given as 0.2. So 0.2 whole square, we are getting 0.04, that is the coupling efficiency. Let's optical power coupled into the power is PC. So we can calculate the loss, that is minus 10 with the base 10 PC, that is the coupling efficiency divided by the relative emitting efficiency, that is PE. So it is nothing but eta c, that is minus 10 log with the base 10 eta c. So substituting the value of eta c, that is 0.04, we are getting 14 dB of loss. So third part, so the power emitted we can be calculated 0.013 and the internal power generated. So we can calculate the coupled power, that is 0.04, that is P times. So that is 5.2 × 10⁻⁴, that is the internal power. So there is a loss in the decibel relative we can calculate. In this case, we are getting that is 32.8 decibels. So how we can improve the efficiency? The absence of the optical amplification through the stimulated emission in the LED tends to limit the internal quantum efficiency, that is a ratio of the photon generated to the injected electrons of the device, and the reliance or the spontaneous emission allow the non-radiative recombination to take place with the structure due to the crystalline imperfection and impurities giving at best, and the internal quantum efficiency, that is 50% for the simple homojunction device. So however, as with the injection laser, the double heterojunction, that is DH structure, have been implemented with a recombination lifetime efficiency ranging from 60 to 80%. Now the next important topic is the double heterojunction LED, also known as DH LED. So we have the DH LED, that is double heterojunction LED, as we can see in the figure. So we have the holes on the left made up of the aluminium gallium arsenide. The center one is the gallium arsenide, and the third region is aluminium gallium arsenide. So we are having two regions that is represented by P and N region. So these energy band diagram, we can see that we have having the holes in the valence state and the injected electrons in the conduction band. So when the electrons from the injection conduction band comes back to its lower energy states, it releases the energy in form of light, that is S times of F. This is the principle of double heterojunction LED. We can see there are two heterojunctions, and in this region, that is the center region, the gallium arsenide, there is a recombination which is happening. So in this lecture, we have discussed about the spontaneous emission, because LEDs following this principle of spontaneous emission, the introduction and the material used to fabricate the LEDs. So after the materials we have discussed about the LED power and its efficiency and how we can improve the efficiency of the LED, and the last part is the double heterojunction LED. So here I am going to stop this lecture. Thank you.